feel fat today. And now you feel fat today also. You're welcome. And now there's a podcast.
We haven't been, too close with.
I know. Last time I saw you was at LCD Sound System when I was very
Randomly.
much on drugs. And I was with the whole group from New Jersey. And I was like, oh, shit.
Whoa.
Jersey? Meet Jersey.
How do you know that group of friends?
I met one of the girls at a Shabbat dinner at the Jewish Museum.
Nice.
And then she's just cool. So we've stayed in touch.
Yeah.
That's it. That's
it
like New
just-
York. It's like I was at a dinner once
Yeah.
and stumbled upon someone that wasn't insufferable.
Yeah, it's so funny because when my friends that live in Jersey that I know from Jersey are
Yeah.
like, oh, how do you know this person? And
Yeah.
they're like not a
New York.
comedy related friend. I'm just like, I don't even remember how we've met, but I've lived here for a decade and
Yeah.
kind of just
Yeah.
accumulate them. But
Yeah.
usually a dinner.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's always a dinner. It's always or a friend's coworker. But
Yeah.
usually, and the same for dating.
Totally.
I meet the men at the dinner or
Yeah.
the friends' coworkers. That's
yes.
it.
Yeah. Are you
Nothing else.
doing dating apps?
No,
Can't do it. Won't
can't do it. I honestly hate when comedians talk about dating apps because I feel like everyone goes on stage and they're like dating apps.
Everyone has a
and
dating
it's-
app bit.
Yeah. I can't do it. I think it makes me lower my standards and feel bad about myself. And I'm like, you know what? I don't need
That
this.
was an awful sound. I hear that. Yes.
Yeah.
It was awful when I was on dating apps.
How long have you and Joe been together?
It'll be 4 years in August.
Wow.
long time.
It's almost a presidency.
It's almost a presidency. That's very true. Yeah. I don't know. It's crazy.
One term. You've been together one term.
I know, and it's crazy because so many of my friends that have been together with their
Yeah.
boyfriends for as long as Joe and I have been together. They're married
Right,
by
with
now,
kids,
and
yeah.
children are on the way.
Yeah.
Yeah. So but I don't know. I don't feel that. Maybe it's New York.
No rush. No rush.
I don't feel the rush.
My mom had me when she was like 39, so
That's what I'm
in New
holding
York.
out
And
hope
she's like,
for.
Rachel, whatever.
I feel like New York women's fertility are different.
yeah.
I think it's different.
We're like, I'm 47.
Yeah.
Let's start thinking about having kids.
It's actually crazy because let's start thinking. Oh my god, that's so funny. No, literally, I at this new job that I started a few weeks ago, there's a benefit called Kind Body,
Oh.
which is women's
Kind body.
health.
Okay, that's nice.
Yeah, and I was looking at the stuff, and at first when I saw that, I was like, oh, this is cool. I can go get an annual exam, and then I was looking at it more, and it said discounts on egg freezing, and I was like,
Oh, get that.
interesting. Okay, I'm 32. If I was
Yeah.
gonna do it, I might as well do it now.
Mhm.
You got to strike while the iron's hot. But I also think that there was an Adam Ruins Everything.
Oh,
You know that
I don't
show?
know what that is. No.
Oh, it's the Adam Conover, Adam Ruins
Okay.
Everything, where he'll take it the notion you don't actually need to go to college to get a good job.
Yeah.
He'll break that down to be that's actually not that true, or
yeah,
whatever.
depending on what you do.
Depending on what it is. And there was an episode on female fertility.
Oh,
and just how
interesting.
it's the fertility
Big fertility is-
big fertility
No, it's true. They make all my friends who are freezing their eggs feel like they
so
need
under
to
the
do
gun.
it now and blah blah blah. And then I talked to my mom. I talked to my gyno, and my gyno was like, "I mean, you can if you want. It's
If
a
you're in-
gamble, but
yeah.
you're 29. We'll talk in a couple of years." And
yeah.
my mom, my friends who've had kids are like, "Yeah, I mean, don't underestimate your own fertility."
Totally. Yeah. And I know that it's not 100% just so that big fertility
Right.
can make money.
Right. It is good. Yes, it is good to have a family when you want.
Yeah. And I think also because we live in a very litigious society that
Mhm.
if doctors went around saying that no, you'll have a perfectly healthy baby at the age of
Right.
37.
Right.
And
they
then
can
your
get
kid comes out with
fucked.
some kind of issue.
Yeah.
It's oh, well, I was told this,
Yeah, they're like
it's
the
just-
vaccines.
Yeah. It's just
You took the third booster and now your kids are fucked.
yeah.
That's-
oh yeah, New York women are more fertile. Until
Yeah, I love that. I
later
just think
decades.
any excuse for that concludes that New York women are better. I'm like, yep. I don't even need to check that. Yep, that sounds right. We're more fertile. I believe it.
So you're from New York City.
Yes.
Yeah.
Born and raised.
Do you think that there's a threshold for when people can officially call themselves a New Yorker, or do you have to
Okay,
have grown up here?
My mom and I discuss this all the time. We think not everybody from New York is a New Yorker, and not
Ooh.
everyone who's a New Yorker is from New York. It is a state of mind.
I love this take.
Yes.
I love this take.
Yes, and it's, do you have your local businesses where you care about the people and they hook it up for you?
Yep.
Like, I always say there's different costs of living in New York based on
Yeah.
how you decide to live there. And some things are always going to be expensive, but like you can get food pretty reasonably, and like you can go to really good restaurants that are not that expensive. You just have to like make a little bit of an effort. And it's kind of like, are you willing to find the cheap things, places? Do you have that like street smarts, go-getter attitude of like, I know this thing exists and I'm willing to go find it? And I think like that's what makes a New Yorker.
You're
Like, do you have
nailing it.
Thank you. I mean, my family's been here. I am 4th generation New York City.
Wow.
Which is pretty crazy. But yeah, like my mom goes grocery shopping in the Bronx, and like that's where like Little Italy is. So they all think she's Italian, and she just plays it up, and then she goes into the one Jewish store, and then she plays up the Jewish, and like she goes in there, they love her. They're like, we'll get your usual, like the people making the cheese, get the cheese ready, the coffee, the pasta, all of that. And yeah, and like my mom has the pickle guys in the East Village where she goes, and they're like, all right, we'll get your usual ready for you.
Oh, so many stores with her usual.
The usual, yes. And then there's always drama. It's like she goes into Zabar's. Everyone likes Zabar's. Everyone likes these institutions that I've recommended, but it's like my mom goes in. She knows the lox cutter for 25 years. She has her favorite one. Like, if that guy doesn't cut it, she will wait for him.
Right, right. Yeah, totally. And I think that anybody that's quick to want to claim a title maybe is like,
yes,
it's a little poserish where it just
Agreed.
needs to come upon you.
Yeah, you give New Yorker. Like, this apartment, we were talking about off camera, Kelly's apartment is amazing. I walked in and I was like, I know it's a deal. And she lives in the prime neighborhood that you want to live in New York City. No notes, honestly.
I really appreciate it. I wish you need to come over when I have just like a girls hang and it's like
Yeah.
clean in here. Like, my life is just too chaotic. Like,
It's
I
okay,
should
though.
be embarrassed by the state of this apartment and you being over here, but I'm just kind of like, she gets it. I don't know.
I'm like, you have enough space for this many things. Like, you nailed it.
I also like, you get it because like you have a day job and you're a comedian and like you do things like I never in my life have like
Yes,
a
time.
great podcasting schedule, a clean house, things going great
Yes,
at work,
yes.
being booked on stage. Like everything can't be filled at 100%.
Yes.
Everything will be in different
Yes.
doses.
And some people believe the state of your house is a reflection of the state of your mind. But like, what's wrong with having a messy mind?
yeah, right
Like,
now I'm pretty scatterbrained.
Yeah.
So like, yeah.
If you know where everything is, then like, fine. You know?
Yeah, I get by. And like now that like I'm in the office a few days a week, like I think my house was still a freaking mess when I worked from home full time, but I just because I leave to go to an office and none of this is in my purview when I'm like at work dealing with work stuff, it like doesn't bother me as much. Whereas when I worked from home and I would be stressed out at work and see mess, I'd be like, I need to clean this mess so I can think straight. You know, like my office is clean.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, that's all that matters.
yeah.
Yeah, I feel the same. I think my workspaces are usually pretty clean, and then everything else is a mess.
It's a mess. But you know, it's just we're working women.
My boyfriend in college used to keep everything pristine, and then you'd open a drawer and it was like a tornado, but like that was him. Like he like pretended to be so put together, and then the reality was he was, a mess. But
I think that's kind of
it's real.
a good description of me as well. Like I'll have everything looking
This
nice.
bookshelf behind us, by the way, perfectly organized.
Because it's like if I want to feel productive, I'll like organize the bookshelf. I'll dust the bookshelf. You know, I do like the stuff so that it doesn't smell in here. I do the litter box.
Okay,
I
it does smell good in here.
Thank
I
you.
will say.
Yeah, like I care more about like
Vibes.
like cleaning
Yeah,
and like
yeah.
sweeping, and there not being dust more than I care about clutter. Like I care about the
Yes,
clutter. I don't want
yes.
there to be clutter. But like if my bed's made and I've Swiffered and the litter
Yes.
box is done and like nothing's gross out, I'm like, okay, well the rest is just stuff.
Yeah, I'm the same. I'm messy but not dirty.
I'm messy but not dirty.
And it's important. Like dirty's disgusting.
yeah,
Like I want you to have taken a shower, like if you're gonna be my friend.
totally.
That's just like a level of respect. But messy, whatever.
Yeah, my home gets dirty when I am in like a state of like depression and can't get out of
Yes,
bed,
yes.
and then it just like feeds it more
Yes.
and more and more.
And then
I
someone
just,
comes
like-
over and they're like, "Are you okay?"
Yeah.
You're like, "Obviously not."
Yeah,
Like,
yeah, yeah.
But it kickstarts you into cleaning.
Yeah, totally. Well, I appreciate you saying that the vibe that I have is of a New
Yeah.
Yorker, because
yeah,
I'm
there's
so
like all these random like Asian trinkets. I don't know if trinkets is the right word. And then you got Taylor Swift, and then you got some feminist.
yeah, there's
things going on.
Yeah, it's just 9 years of stuff being collected. I mean, Joe's touch in here also. You know,
Mhm,
he's
mhm.
got the Japanese stuff going on, but yeah. I like a little eclecticness. I
Yeah.
like it.
Also, going back to your point of a New Yorker, I was thinking, I feel like real New Yorkers like don't read reviews. You know?
No,
Like, you,
oh my gosh, yes.
Yeah, like anywhere that's trendy, like we probably won't go.
I went to London by myself.
Mhm. Oh, the only place I've traveled by myself is London.
Because like it's like
It's
oh,
so
we're the-
easy, you're like,
it's us, but like with accents.
Yes,
like
and
that's
like-
all it is.
yes, yes,
Yeah.
yes, yes.
So I went and I ended up kicking myself because I really wanted to find afternoon tea, which is everywhere, and for some reason,
like, where could it be?
I know, but I wanted it to be like a nice experience. Like when I have
mhm.
something specific in mind, like I will go to no end researching, trying to find the right spot.
I mean,
and-
I think the phrase afternoon tea is calming just to hear.
oh, it's like
oh,
it's an experience that you
Mhm.
should do
Mhm,
while
mhm.
in London, whatever. So I kicked myself because I ended up going to TikTok and like finding a place
Oh.
from TikTok, and I was like, this wasn't as good if I just like found
Mhm.
a place
or like ask someone on the street, like,
right.
where's your favorite place for,
Yeah.
I don't know.
And I feel like real New Yorkers don't go to TikTok to find
No,
places.
no.
You just come upon it. You know
Well, it's
somebody.
so funny. So I'm from the Upper East Side. There's this diner up there that is notoriously disgusting. Like, it's been horrible my entire
Yeah.
life. It's still horrible.
I think I know what diner you're talking about.
Yes, it's. I don't even know what it's. I don't even think it has a name. It just has a neon sign that says Luncheonette. It's on like Lex and 83rd, maybe.
Yeah.
But anyway, my one memory of going there was when I was really young. I got like a grilled cheese. This was back before inflation. And it was like disgusting. Which, like, how do you fuck up a grilled? Like, it's bread and cheese and butter. Like,
You know
it's
how
going to
you
be
know how
good.
you mess it up? Dirty.
Yes,
a dirty frickin'
or like
grill.
rotten,
Mhm.
like something.
Yeah.
And I remember it was like $20, which back then a grilled cheese was like, it's kind of like, it's like if your deli charges you more than like a Subway fare for a bacon, egg, and cheese. You're
Yeah.
like, what's, this is not a bodega.
Yeah.
So it was like that situation. I was like 20, and I was in like middle school, and I was like, this is offensive. I never went back there, whatever. I went to visit my parents recently. There's like a line down the block around the corner.
Get out.
And someone said like, oh, this just blew up on TikTok, and that's why everyone's here. I'm like, can people think for themselves?
Totally. It's crazy.
Like, it's New York. You can find a good diner. Every diner
every diner
is
is a
better
good-
than
yeah.
this diner.
Yeah.
Like,
No, totally.
wait, speaking of, this is so funny. I went on a date with this guy who was like really fancy and not from New York. And he said to me, like, what's your favorite place to eat on the Upper East Side? Like, where do you like to eat with your family? And I listed 2 diners. I was like, I don't know, Gracie's Diner.
Uh-huh.
He was like, oh, you don't like St. Ambrose, which is like a really fancy.
I can't.
And he was like, do you go anywhere else? And I was like, sometimes we go to like EJ's Diner. And we never went out again. And I was like wondering, I was like, oh, he was nice. Like, why didn't we go out? And then I thought about it. I was like, oh, we're very different people.
Yeah, yeah. His like your version of like nice is like a nice meal, like
Right.
a nice
Right, like
meal.
a waiter.
A waiter, yeah.
There's someone taking my order who like barely speaks English. Like
yes,
that's
and
not,
the
like,
food is good.
yes, yes.
You know, they
Yep.
finally got a card reader. And that guy is like, no, nice is like spending a lot of money, and that's where people
Yes.
miss the mark.
Yes.
I was explaining
Mhm.
I was explaining to somebody, I was at a baby shower a few weeks ago, and obviously had to come in from Williamsburg to go to Jersey to see to this
Yes.
baby shower,
Which is like 2 hours longer than it needs to be.
I know. It actually wasn't that bad.
Oh, you took the train to the L to
I
the
just
path?
took I took the L to Penn Station.
Okay.
And then I
the train.
yeah, the luckily it was in a town where the train just like went right into the
Oh,
town, and then like the
that's
rest
amazing.
it just worked out that way. So I'm there and I'm chatting with this one lady who said I overheard a woman say like, "Oh, I used to live in Brooklyn and now I live in Jersey." And she was probably like 8 years older than me.
Okay.
And I was like, "Oh, I live in Brooklyn. I live
Yeah.
in Williamsburg." She was like, "Oh, I used to live in Williamsburg." You know, basically like we were kind of like ships passing in the night in terms of
Yes.
like me moving in and her moving
Yes,
out,
yes,
which like
yes.
makes sense for our age ranges,
Of
whatever.
course. Especially Williamsburg is so temporary. Like you've been here a long time.
I know.
For Williamsburg.
Yeah, people in Williamsburg don't stay as long as I have.
Right.
And I was explaining to her how like when she lived here and when I first moved in here, it used to be hipsters with trust funds, and now the crowd is finance bros with trust funds. That's Williamsburg.
Yeah.
Like I still think Williamsburg is a cool neighborhood because like, you know, there are the people that have always lived here. We're right next to Greenpoint.
I think the
that still has
revived
the vibe.
factory is nice. Like I'm just
Yeah.
gonna say, I know it's like, you know, the staple of gentrification, but like I do kind of like to eat in a high ceiling like
Yes.
X factory that
Yes.
whatever. It's nice.
Yeah, this place where like people used to like, you know, get asbestos in their lungs and like,
Right,
you know,
right.
would have like factory accidents is a
right now
wonderful
it's $20 for a margarita.
Yeah, or it's like a dream place to have your wedding.
Oh,
You know, that you can't afford.
which also, by the way, everyone that I know who's looked at wedding venues here, you have to bring everything in.
Oh, yeah.
So it's like the space is like not even the
Yes.
worst of your worries.
Yeah, no, 100%. It's crazy. And
like
it's so
DIY.
annoying because like I feel like people are like, we're just going to do like a cute little Brooklyn wedding. And it's like, really? It's going to cost you $200,000.
I still haven't been to a Brooklyn wedding.
Have I been to a Brooklyn wedding? New Jersey, Long Island,
Yeah.
New Orleans, Florida, soon to be
Soon Austin.
Texas. Yes. I don't think I've been to a Brooklyn wedding. And shout out to my friends.
Oh wait, I went
that
to one at the Brooklyn Botanical Garden in
Was
October.
it so nice? Or was it cold because it was October?
I'm like, I don't want to talk shit.
Yeah.
Like a good friend. It was October. It was raining, so like their idea of how it was gonna go was not how. So like we couldn't
that's
be
tough.
in the flowers, which is like the whole point of the botanical garden.
I heard the one. I must have got this from TikTok, but I
The
can't
source
even
of
front.
truth. Yeah.
But I heard that the number one tip for your wedding day, in order to enjoy your day as much as possible, love your rain plan as much as your A plan.
Love that.
You have to love your rain
I
plan.
say, being like chronically single, I'm like, yes, manifest
Literally,
every night.
I'm
No,
as
that's
we
good
were
advice, though.
as we were having this conversation, I'm like, neither one of us are engaged. Neither one of us really cares that much about getting married anytime soon.
Yeah, I mean,
I don't even think
I
I'd have
care
a
about it.
wedding.
Like, I definitely want it in my life, but I don't want to just like get married for the sake of getting married. Like,
No.
I want to marry the right.
That would not
the
be a
right
New York
person.
woman.
No,
That would
no.
not be a New York woman.
Single at 29 with like no prospects as New York woman, right
Oh,
here. But also like I'm so happy. Like
And not
I-
having anxiety about it
yes,
is key
I
New
was,
York
I
woman.
was just on vacation and I'd like signed my new job offer right before, and I was like in Costa Rica on the beach, and I was like, wow, I'm so happy to be here, and I'm happy to return home. Is this happiness?
Crazy.
Have I found it?
Oh, that I love that for you. That's
yeah,
amazing.
so I think I'm happy.
Mm. Have you experienced bouts of not being happy?
In my life, yes, of
Yeah.
course. Most of my life, but I
yeah.
repress it and I tell myself the opposite is true. What about you?
Oh
Could you
yeah,
tell-
totally.
I mean,
Totally.
I don't think I'd be a comedian.
I know. I do feel like though this is like the first year where I'm like I have a knock on wood. I
Yeah.
have a good handle on it.
That's good.
You know, because it can get dark. It can get like really overwhelming.
Yes. And I'm like on a little bit of a break from comedy. Maybe that's why I'm happy, honestly.
Oh, danger, danger.
I was burning out because I would commute like 45 minutes to do a show for 7 people who don't want to be there. They were like ambushed into being audience members,
Yeah.
and it was happening over and over. And then I get home at like 1 a.m. on a Tuesday, and then I have to go to work for the rest of the week, and it was like really exhausting. But now I feel energized to go back. But yeah, it gets dark.
Yeah. I think comedy also is making me a little bit depressed because it's impossible to not compare yourself to
Yeah.
people and like, how did that person get that? Like, whatever, blah, 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 all of that. And I feel like I feel like I've been less depressed about comedy because I am not focusing on what I don't have. I'm focusing on like what I've created, something like this.
Yes.
I'm focusing on trying to have an abundance mindset when it comes to getting spots.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
like, you know, ask people, don't take it
Right. Or the fact.
personally if they don't respond.
Yeah.
or-
I think
and-
not taking things personally.
Well, number one.
Best advice you can give someone in life. Like nothing really is personal.
Yeah.
Sometimes, and if it is, then you apologize to them, and
Mhm.
it, you know, it is what it is. But
I know that like it's like kind of cheesy and corny to like look to people like Mel Robbins. Are you
I don't know.
familiar?
I like don't know anyone.
So Mel Robbins is like a self-help. She's like kind of like
Okay.
a female, not Tony Hinchcliffe, Tony Robbins, a female Tony Robbins of
I don't
like.
know who that is either.
come
But that's fine.
on.
Sorry.
You don't know who Tony Robbins
No,
is?
I don't.
You've never dated like a finance guy that is like threw Tony Robbins quotes at you?
No.
Wow, you really dodged some bullets.
Yeah. For now, we'll see.
Well, no.
I've had other flavors of terrible, so
Totally. No, Mel Robbins is just this lady that she's popping up a lot on TikTok. She's been
Okay.
around for forever, but
Okay.
she has this book out called Let Them.
okay.
And the idea is like,
mhm.
let them, if someone's mad at you, let them be mad at you.
Yeah.
Just let them be mad at you, because if someone's mad at me, it ruins my life. Like I
Yeah.
cannot deal with people being mad at me.
Yeah.
And so I kind of like this notion of like, let them be mad at you and then investigate why they might be mad at you,
Mhm.
but don't take that personally within
Yeah.
yourself.
Yeah.
And then you mentioned it, like if it warrants it, apologize. If it's something where it's like,
Yeah. Like we're not perfect. Like we could have made a misstep or like
mhm.
truly had a bad day and hurt someone in the process. Like that happens.
Yeah. But I believe in penance and giving second chances.
Yeah, me too.
I'm big on second chances.
Me too. Me too. But going back to what you were saying about the not comparing thing,
Yes.
what I do is I always just like try and find joy in things. And
Yeah.
I'm like, oh, what's making me happy? And then just like as a result, I end up not comparing as much because I'm like, I enjoyed this.
Mhm.
And that's what you have to do with comedy because like sometimes the audience doesn't laugh. And like for you to want to get back up there, you have to enjoy it on some
Yeah.
level and just be like, I enjoy this. I want this to get better. I'm going to work on this. And like it is really hard not to compare, especially people that are like right next to you in certain ways. But yeah,
Yeah.
you got to just find your own like gratification. or
Your own
satisfaction.
gratification, and know that like whatever you're working towards is your own
Mhm.
thing.
Mhm. And
that's
it will make you happy. And that's ultimately all that we're here for.
I know. It's so hard to find happiness.
And like, what does it mean? I had a friend once who was like, I don't even know if I believe that's like, what would that even look like?
What
and
would
I was like,
happiness look like?
whoa.
Yeah.
I was like, I don't have an answer because when you're happy, you still will like want things to be better, but then does that mean you're not content? You know, like is
Right.
happiness being content? I don't think so.
Yeah. I don't know. Life's greatest questions.
It's yeah. Anyway,
Anyways, so okay, great conversation, but I am
Yes.
curious about a few things. So,
Please.
grew up in Manhattan, and you're an only child,
no, I have an older brother,
older brother.
which nobody knows about. He lives in Miami. I'm going to visit him this weekend. He has a wife and 2 kids, so
Lovely.
we're just in very different life
Yeah.
stages.
Yeah. How much older is he?
4.5 years. It's like 5 years,
Yeah,
basically.
like 5 years older than
5 years,
you.
but it was like 4 grades in school. Not that we counted grades, but like kind of.
No, my younger brother's 6 years younger than me, and I feel like a whole ass adult compared to
Oh
him.
my god, yeah.
You know,
Wait, so did he just graduate college? I
he
guess he's 26.
he's 26 now. Yeah.
Yeah.
His birthday's in like a week or something. But yeah, so okay, older brother
Yes.
grew up in Upper East Side.
Yes.
Did you do sports or anything?
Yes, I was a very serious athlete growing up. I played basketball seriously, and then I also played volleyball in high school.
Did
Yeah.
you travel doing that?
Yes. So, yeah, I played on a travel team out with this Catholic school out in Queens, and
Uh-huh.
like, I was the worst one on the team, but they were all like we I think had the best record in the
Oh,
country.
wow.
Like they were amazing, and I like learned so much. And I went to, for reference, a private high school in the Bronx. Bronx makes it sound it's in like the nicest part of the Bronx with like mansions, whatever.
Yeah, like Riverdale.
River. It is. It
Oh,
is in
there you
River.
go.
Yes. And then I would go to this like travel basketball team with like probably the best players in the city. Like not probably with the best players
Yeah.
in the city. And I was the worst one, but like then I would like go back to my private high school and I'd be like, we don't even play basketball here. Like, and I would like make the warm up CDs and it'd be like the most offensive rap songs you've ever heard. And you're like, and I would play it like before our games and the parents would be like, what is like the whitest like Jewish parents would be like, I feel uncomfortable. And I was talked to many times about the level of explicit songs I would put on my warm up CD.
You're like, I'm just trying to get the girls hyped.
Yeah, and like this is, crazy to say, but I definitely developed like a hood accent only when I would play basketball and like nowhere
you
else.
switch for basketball.
Yes, like we'd be on like a fast break and I'd be like, we out, let's go. And like I'd miss it. Like, I'm tired. And I'm like, what in the like I am like this Upper East Side Jewish girl. Like, what am I doing with this like black scent only during basketball?
You just got that dog in you,
I
man.
get, and to be clear, like these girls didn't really like me. I had a friend that I knew from rec basketball who was very good, and her dad and my dad were friends. Her dad's a lawyer, my dad's a lawyer. They played basketball together in the Lawyers League in New York when they were single. Like my dad played professional basketball in Israel.
Wow.
And yes, and her dad played like for Georgia, like D1 in the state. So their team was like really really good in the Lawyers League. So they kind of like stayed friends, and then she and I were friends. I don't know if we're still like we like each other's TikToks, and like every time she posts about basketball and like how traumatized she is, I'm like, OMG, me too, girly.
Okay, wait. Why is basketball traumatizing?
Well, I definitely have like all my, not to like get dark, all my mental health problems stem
Oh.
from basketball.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, I think women's sport. Did you play sports? I assume.
I did play sports, but not in any way where I was like competitive.
Are you like a soccer girl?
No, softball, and then in high school
Oh.
I did like track and cross country.
Okay. Cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, I feel like those are chill. Like,
Yeah, I never it was all yeah, there was I didn't have that dog in me.
you had no black scent
I
on the,
didn't have a
on
black
the
scent.
track.
Yeah, no, I didn't. Ran with a lot of black kids though.
Yeah, they were probably good.
They were honestly some of the best in like my area. Anyways, okay, yeah. So the
Trauma.
competitive nature of
yeah,
it.
I think just like women's sports are fucked up. I mean, I think all sports are fucked up, but women's sports especially like fly under the radar. And like I had a whole scandal at my school. Like I was very good at basketball from a very young age. So like when I was like 12, the varsity coaches all over the city were like coming to watch me.
Ooh.
And I would like play with the high school, like the high school. I would like
Yeah.
play with the varsity girls in the camp in the summer or whatever. And then like as I was rising, like all the coaches kind of like, I don't know, became my friend or whatever. But I think, I don't know. I don't know what it was, but I like endured extreme amount of abuse in my high school. I would get like screamed at to the point where I would cry and like,
they like hazed you.
yes, but like only like I think the coach just didn't want me to like take more credit than he did. Like I think
Ooh,
they
weird.
didn't want to be like upstaged by me. And yeah, and it was so bad, and I would like complain about it to the school, and then the school blamed me. My school was like, well, basically you're too nice and allow for this to happen. Like you gotta tough it up.
Wow.
And I was like crying in teachers' offices, like my grades slipped, which like I always did well in school, and yeah. And then like the coach just like pulled shady shit. Like I needed footage of myself, and he claimed he was filming me, and then was like, oh sorry, all the film got deleted. And like coaches, like Cornell called him up and like asked about me, and he's like, well, she's only good because like I'm her coach.
So this
And, like,
weird
oh,
guy
like,
had like this
fuck.
weird vendetta against you
Yeah.
for you to not succeed. You were
Yep.
like shoveling against the tide.
Yeah,
with
and
him.
then like my parents in the school were all like, well, you love it, so don't quit. Like
Right.
sometimes things that you love come with all this, and like obviously that does not bode well
right.
for a child and mental health, and like yeah, and then all the girls on the team would bully me because the coach would bully me, so it was kind of this like
And you didn't go to that school, or you did?
I did. No.
Oh, you
this
did
was
go
my
there.
high school that I went to. The travel team was just like for fun, and like I got a lot better because I was way too good for my high school league, and
Okay,
I
got
just
it.
like needed something better. And I mean, those girls were too good for me. You know, probably something in between would
Right,
would
right,
have
right,
been
right.
good. But I also got like exponentially better playing with them, so
Mhm.
that was good. But yeah, I tall Upper East. I mean, they were tall too, but like Upper East Side private school bitch with like Queens Catholic school basketball players. Like,
Right.
I did not fit in, but whatever. But yeah, a lot of mental health problems as a result, like anxiety disorder,
Mhm.
crippling. Yeah.
I mean, it sounds confusing to be participating in something that I'm assuming you loved. Like you loved
Yeah, I
basketball.
loved it since I was a child.
Yeah.
Like, always.
But
yeah.
then to have this, like, I know abuser is kind of like a really strong
No,
term,
it was
but,
an
like,
abuser.
You had
Yes,
an
yes.
abuser that's supposed to be a mentor and a guidance,
Yes.
a
Yes.
place of guidance, like mentally hazing you.
Yeah,
like he's
yeah, and it
mentally
was like they
messing with you.
like stole all of my accolades from me. Like they refused to make me captain. Like
Mm,
scoring
stuff that matters to you.
yeah, like scoring 1,000 points, 2,000 points is like a really big deal in basketball, and they would bench me so I wouldn't hit the number. And I think
Wow.
I ended up with like 950, and it was like because they would bench me. Like it was so fucked up.
That is an awful thing
And
to
I-
do to
yeah.
an athlete.
Yeah, and I was like one of the best athletes in my high school like for a long time. Yeah, so it was I don't know. I think I've grown very strong having to, you know, rebrand myself, and but it is
Mhm.
hard. It's like when you love things from a young age, you know, you're not going to find something as an adult that you've always loved. Like
Right.
you know what those things are. So, yeah, it sucks, but here we are.
Yeah. So being that you were an athlete, and I'm sure because of this, like you would probably go into like a practice or a game with that coach and like have anxiety about it.
No. I think I was so
really?
brainwashed into being like this is how it is. I was like
Oh, yeah.
okay. Like when I got into college, I left my basketball practice that day because my college decision was out. And then he sent me this email basically being like, fuck you, you let down the whole team. I'm going to bench you tomorrow. You can't just like leave. And then like I was benched, so my team was losing because like I was the best one on the team.
Yeah.
And then I went in and like obviously, and we started winning. And he was like, "See, this is what happens when like you put yourself before other people." Like it was just so fucked up.
Yeah. Did he
Yeah.
have a kid on the team?
No,
Weird. Where did they find this guy?
I don't know. But I went back to my high school like 2 years ago and complained about it because all the staff that basically like gaslit me is still there, and they fired him and everyone who knew about it.
Really?
Yeah.
What lit that fire to go and
Therapy.
Really?
Years of therapy. And then a friend of mine, so I'm a software engineer, a friend of mine who's also a software engineer was like, you should come speak on a panel at the high school for like women and underrepresented groups in STEM careers.
Ooh.
And I was like, actually, that is a cause. I believe it. You know,
Totally.
It's not the kids' fault that I had this horrible experience from the school. And like, if I could inspire someone, it's worth it. So I went and I was like, just so they know, I'm not going to be positive.
Yeah.
And I told them at the school, I was like, just so you know, I'm not going to say anything good.
There's no PR spin happening
yeah,
here.
and they were like, no, I think that's like nice. So I got up on stage and like everyone gave these like lovely. They were like, how did this school prepare you? And I went, it didn't. It actively made it harder for me. And then like after the thing was done, some teachers came up to me and were like, students really liked your answers. They felt like they could relate.
Because people want realness.
Yeah.
People want
I was
authenticity.
like, fuck this place. Like I was also told, so then as a result of the basketball thing, I was told like I couldn't take honors math. Like I'm a sophomore engineer. Math was always my other passion because I did too many sports. So I was like penalized, which is sexist. They would never have told
They
a
would
man
never
that,
have told a man
ever.
that.
So I'm on stage and I'm like, honestly, like this school made it harder for me. They wouldn't let me take honors math because I did too many sports. And everyone was like, oh.
Like an athlete wants to do more math. What are you doing?
Right, who's a woman. Like,
Yeah.
let's be clear. Like,
Right.
she's also a woman. If a guy did that, they'd be like, we've never seen anything
Yeah,
like
this
that.
guy deserves the Nobel Peace Prize for such achievements.
Hello, Harvard?
For barely
Um,
passing honors math.
Harvard, we found the next big thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, so. But, there were other good aspects of the school. I shouldn't just shit on it, but I had, a horrible time there. But everyone who's in the leadership there knows. So, yeah, the head of the school, like, made me relive everything after I graduated and then just, like, didn't do anything. So
But it had impact.
it had impact, yeah. And I'm stronger now. But I also feel like, I don't know, and maybe you feel this way too. Like, I like comedians because, like, we're all pretty complex people. Like, with dating and stuff, like, I'll meet these guys and I'm like, I am too fucked up for you. Like, and not even that, like,
Not in like a manic
and
pixie
I also, like,
dream
I
girl
meet
kinda
comedians
way.
and I'm like, I'm nothing compared to, like, these
Right.
comedians get on stage. I'm like, okay, I live a good life. Like,
Yeah, for sure,
what am I doing? But, like, I think just like we're more realists as comedians.
Well,
than,
yeah. Well, what you just said about like, oh, comics get on stage and they talk, and you're like, I've had a good life. Another place of comparing that like you
yes,
can't do.
You're right.
That's the
You're right.
other
You should
side of
never compare
comparing.
trauma. You're right. You're right.
And
My therapist tells me that all the time. She's like, just because you think someone has it worse doesn't mean your pain isn't real. I'm like, so true, bestie.
we all have our own lot in life. Love you,
Yes.
girl.
Yes.
I'm assuming, girl. But yeah, I dating. Once I started doing comedy, I like couldn't date someone that wasn't a comedian.
Yeah, that's
It
so
was
interesting. I feel
really
the
hard.
opposite. I'm like, I can't because I want it to be my outlet.
No, totally. Yeah,
Mhm.
absolutely. And so like maybe it is good to date somebody that's and less complex is not the right.
Yes. Yeah. I mean, as long as they're like a real, like guys that I've liked are funny. Like I definitely, you don't have to be a comedian to be funny.
Right, absolutely. Absolutely. Some of the unfunniest people we know are comedians.
Yes. Name names.
I can't. They're too successful. Yeah. Okay. So crazy experience. And like, lest we forget, you're a teenager.
That's the whole thing too. I'm like, I'm literally 16. Like,
I'm a child.
like I am 16. Like, I didn't fucking know what was going on. And yeah, and then as a result of that, I had like horrible anxiety disorder. Like, obviously my relationships were fucked when the message was, if you love something
Yeah.
this much, this is good. Like,
Right.
this is how it is. Like, obviously I like withstood a lot more abuse from men than I
Yeah.
do now, or like than I would have. And like, yeah, and I look back on, I used to look back, in my earlier days of therapy and be like ashamed of a lot of things. And now I'm like, you know what? I've lived.
I love that. Yeah.
It's funny. I was like, hooking up with this guy in December, and I was like telling him a little bit about my past, but like vaguely. And then he was like, wow, you've like, he's like, I don't want to say you've been like bad, but like you've been through it. I'm like, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
But that's always kind of like a fear of mine, is like when I uncover some of my like past experiences, is that, I don't know, gonna deter people, but it shouldn't.
It shouldn't. It shouldn't. And you're with the right person when like
Yeah.
you
Yeah.
never
Yeah.
have to worry about that when you're with the right person. It's natural and normal to worry about that, but
Yeah.
there's a comfort there that is
Yeah.
hard to, if they could bottle and sell that comfort,
Yeah.
like
And also, I'm so accepting. Like, I've been with alcoholics. I've been with drug addicts. I've been with.
I'll take
like,
the weary, the
yeah, I'm
meek.
like, and I'm like so accepting. I'm like, yeah, sure. Like, you like to drink 15 drinks at once. Like, let's talk about it. Like,
I like so get your pain.
yeah, I'm like, oh my God, I was abused by my basketball coach. It's like all this, but not sexually. Like, we're all in the same. But like, yeah, it's so funny that I have that standard for like myself, where I'm like, I accept so much, but I'm actually working on not accepting. So I'm working on
Good.
being like, this is too much, so I'm not gonna take it on.
Yeah. Well, that's the other thing, because you did take on so much. You have the
Yeah, like capacity.
Yeah, you
to.
have the capacity for
Mhm.
it, but like you need to save that capacity for yourself.
Yeah, exactly. Self-love.
And just like self-endurance. Like, this is a tough world, and so like
Yeah, I think like if you haven't had it rough, you're not paying attention.
yeah,
Like,
Yeah.
or you're like so out of touch with what the real world.
you have
is.
the
You're
luxury of
sheltered.
not paying
Yeah,
attention, the luxury
exactly.
of being out of touch.
Yes, there's a lot of people I grew up with when I like go back to the Upper East Side, and I'm like, have you lived? Like most people, I'm like,
when you travel back to the Upper East Side, from where?
from Brooklyn, okay,
From Fort Greene.
Prospect Heights. I'm like, do you guys know there's a whole world out
That
there?
is like the most New York thing, though, to be like, I live in Prospect Heights now.
Like, there's a whole world out there. You guys don't even know.
Maybe I'll visit you for the holidays, but I don't know.
But it is. But like a lot of the people I went to school with, all their friends are like other private school people. They went to college. Their friends from college are private school kids from New York, and like adjacent to that. And that was never me. Like,
yeah, totally.
I actually went to public elementary school, and one of my friends from elementary school now I've like reconnected with. She works for the Jewish Museum, and like we sit and talk about, like, she ended up continuing on into public school, and like all her stories are so much better than mine.
Love it.
I'm like, I wish I were like tagging the subway stations.
Your black
When I
accent
don't know
probably
what
would have
else
came out a little bit more if
Yeah.
you went to public school your whole life.
When I like don't know what else. Meanwhile, she went to like she didn't. I've heard this story from other people, but like it's all people that went to like the good public schools.
Right,
too.
right.
This guy I went on a date with, or a few dates with, who like went through the public school system, was like, and again, good schools, was telling me how like his friends all used to steal from American Apparel, and it was just like who could steal the most money, like the most quantity of things. And I think that kind of was a thing everywhere, but I definitely was not participating.
Right. Oh, no.
I was like spending money on alcohol.
Yeah. Yeah, you were like legally.
Yes. I mean, illegally, but
Illegally,
like,
legally. Yeah.
illegally, but it will soon be legal.
Right. Eventually I'll be able to do this. Now I'm just kind of like, you can never steal.
Yes, that's another sad truth though about being a New Yorker, is like whenever I go to the Upper West Side, I'm like, oh, that place used to not card. That place,
Yeah. Totally.
like, oh, that place is still in business, but they never carded.
So, did you ever have like an outlet when you were dealing with like this abusive coach and you know,
Yeah.
kind of like systemically being
Yeah, I would I binge drank for so many years.
really
In high school, I would drink like 12 shots, and I'm
Right.
like in New York City,
Right.
age like 16. Like, all right, I'll just take 12 shots and fucked up and whatever.
I feel like going out in your teens as a New
crazy.
York kid is just like
So-
part of it.
Yeah, I think it forces you to grow up fast. But like, I went to the bars that the college kids went to when I was a teen, and then when I was in college, I went to the bars the post grads went to, and like vice versa. But like,
Always a league ahead.
yeah, not to brag about myself, but I was always cool. Like, I always knew Phoebe sucked. Like, even when I was 16, I was like,
Yeah.
this is not cool. And B-Bar back then, I was like, these are
Oh
not
my God,
cool
B-Bar.
places
Yeah.
that like I want to go to. But like, yeah, I remember in high school, I'd like go to a bar and like troll the interns. If someone was like, I'm an intern at Goldman Sachs, I'd be like, oh my God, that's so sick. Tell
'Cause
me.
you're just a kid having fun.
Right, I'm just like, I'm gonna troll, and like everyone would make up their story. Like, okay, so the cover story is that we're 19, like,
Yes.
still underage, but
Still
less
not
underage.
21. Oh my gosh, that's so funny. Like, why wouldn't you just say you're 21?
Right, exactly. We're like, we obviously don't look 21. So
So, you know, you binge drank, but
Yes.
it was social. So it's like,
Yes.
you know, kind of like probably not even looked at as like
Right.
an issue.
I was
especially-
fun.
Especially if you're not getting caught.
I was fun. I'm still fun.
Right. No, totally. Did you ever,
Yeah.
were you able to look back and be like, oh, I was drinking a lot at that time? Or did you have this feeling of like, I need to not cope this way? Like, how can you look back today and say,
Yeah.
oh, I binge drank?
Yeah, I mean, I don't think at the time I viewed anything as coping. And my parents look back at that time and they're like, you never wanted to be home. You were always trying to like leave, and like you were friends with some shady characters. And I'm like, yeah, of course I was. Like, what
Yeah.
else? But yeah, looking back, like, I don't know if you used to this, where you'd like tally every time you had a drink, and I'd wake up with like 15
Oh, yeah.
tally marks. I'm like, whoa. But you're like a kid, so then you just go on with your life. Like if I did
Right.
that now, I would die.
Yeah. I would need to take that Monday off from work. to,
Right, like this. I'm like, did I
recover.
make out with 3 people last night? Like, I
Right.
don't know.
Right. Oh my God. Yeah. We were so resilient when we were younger.
Oh, yeah.
And we were like athletes. Well,
Yeah.
you were. I'm not saying me. Like,
Well, I remember like I had smoked cigarettes a few times, but I would go to sports practice because we'd have like weekend sports practice, and then I would like struggle breathing, so I kicked that like, fast. Like I never got addicted really, because like I don't know, I just didn't view drinking in the same league as like I mean, kids shouldn't be doing hard drugs. Like
No, not
I
at all.
firmly believe not till you're older.
You can. That's what your 20s are for.
Yes, I agree.
That's what your 20s are for. Sorry, he's excited.
He's like, did somebody say hard drugs?
Yeah, I forgot to mention, Finny is a DEA dog. He works. He's a hound. Come here, Finn. He's a hound.
Like the
so-
police are closing in 5.
Yeah. Finny also was like, oh, are we almost at an hour? Like when he starts barking like that, I'm like, oh, okay, we've been sitting here probably for about an hour.
Wow,
It's
I don't
crazy.
even think we covered like any of your questions.
Oh, you know what? But here's the thing: the questions that I for the most part, unless I know more about the backstory
Yeah,
of the person, the questions that I send are mostly the same. Only because I feel like even if it's not related to like eating stuff or
Yeah.
whatever, it gets you thinking.
It's all the same. Yeah, and like I've actually always had a really healthy relationship with food. Like friends tell me I'm the only person that they know with a healthy relationship with food. But when I was struggling with mental health and anxiety, like I physically couldn't eat. Like it was a
Right.
side effect
Right.
of that I didn't realize at the time. And like I remember my mom used to be like forcing me to eat, and I was like, I can't, like I'm ill. Like I imagine that's how Ozempic feels. I'm like, I literally cannot, because my mental was like so
right. And,
fucked.
I mean, that feeling of what you're describing of like the idea of trying to get food down when you're at that level
Yes.
of anxiety
Yes.
is like, ugh.
And then the other way around, which like I've had like the moments where you lose control and you're like, did I just eat a pizza, like a whole pizza?
yeah, because there is like in that moment of those moments of like, oh, I don't even remember eating that.
Yeah.
That could be the same as binge drinking.
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
It's just this numbing out effect.
Yep.
And once I realized that like food could be used as a tool, or that I have used food as a tool to numb out, I was like, oh, okay.
Yeah.
That's why this felt medicinal.
Yeah.
You know?
Totally. Yeah, or it's
Um,
like why people like to have a pint of ice cream when they're sad.
Right, totally. And why others can't even think about having food when they're sad because the
totally.
anxiety or whatever
Totally.
is too much. Okay, so then you played basketball in college?
No, I didn't.
Oh, you didn't.
So I was like so mentally fucked up from it that I like couldn't. And also then I was getting injured. So as a result of my mental state, like I remember I just took a misstep and broke my ankle. Like my
Yeah.
body was breaking down, and my parents were very like, I don't know if they were necessarily against me playing in college, but they were like, your degree, your mind is forever, your body
right.
is not, your body in this state is not. So I kind of only would want to play if I could still do math or engineering. And that was also things. So like I go on the recruiting visits and be like, how many of your players are engineers? And they're like, none. Or like
None.
one time we had someone do this, and then kind of the schools that were left, like Caltech, which had not won a game in years, they like, I remember, sent me voicemails to like play for them, and we're like, all you have to do is fill out your essay and say this, this, and this. And I remember like asking my college counselor, like, can I please list Caltech as a safety school? And he's like, no, nobody list, because they couldn't lower their academic standards for sports recruits, because
Right.
just even people that are smart, like they have to be smart in the math. Like there's just so many different ways you could be smart that like the tech people just, it wasn't a common overlap.
Right.
So I realized it would be really hard to do both. And I think my parents and I both made the decision, like, it's not worth the continued injuries. And my dad, when he played, he like still has joint problems and all that. So like
Yeah.
I grew up seeing like, oh, why does he need like a hand brace when he's 50 and like ankle braces to like walk outside?
Yeah.
Just
Yeah.
not worth the permanent toll it takes on your body.
And I mean, the mental abuse that you were going through was so apparent with
Yeah.
the physical ailments that
Everything,
were
yeah.
coming through.
Yeah. All of it. And at the time I'd be like, I am being abused. Like I would say it. And then I also had this like mental issue where I like wasn't sure I was in reality. Like I wasn't sure like gravity would continue to work and all this. And it
Like
was
a
because of that. It was because I would, I was completely dissociated for like a couple years, but it was because of that. Because I would say like, I am being abused. And
Yeah,
people were
and
like,
no one was believing you. Or
okay.
doing anything.
Not even believing. They're like, okay. and then nothing. Okay, I'll talk to him. Like
Yeah.
nothing.
Yeah. Okay. Keep playing.
Yeah. Okay. And then I think that like fucked me up too in a lot of ways. But what were we saying?
Yeah. College.
Yeah. So I didn't play in college, but I am kind of insecure about it because like whenever people ask me that, I'm like, no, I was good. but
Well, I think-
but also it doesn't matter.
Well, because you are really good at. In high school, you were good at two things at once that most
Yeah.
people
Yeah.
have a hard time being good at one of those
Yes,
things.
yes.
You know, math
Yeah.
for the engineering side of things, and
Yeah.
then basketball.
Yeah.
So, the fact that you went to college for engineering is like
Math. I went for math.
or
But
for
yes,
math,
yes,
for
yes.
math. It's crazy that like the fact that you didn't play basketball would
I
ever
know.
overshadow.
I know. Well, it's like I don't know. As an adult, when I meet people, I'm like, I just feel like my vibe is so sporty, and I have to like,
Right.
I feel the need to justify it with like, this is why I look this way. Like I dress like sporty,
Right.
and
Right.
I,
Well, you probably do work
like
out
I'm
now.
yeah I'm fit. Yeah, I
Yeah.
work out. Like I care about healthy eating and my body and my mind and all that, and like, I don't know. I feel the need to. To justify. No one cares. Like it truly doesn't
Right.
matter. But I don't know. It's like a weird point of insecurity. Yeah, I don't know.
I mean,
It's so stupid.
when I get it, I totally get it. You know, it makes sense. Just like when you,
Like put so much work into something for nothing.
yeah, and like your childhood and your teenage years are such the foundations
Yeah,
of like
it's
your
crazy,
adulthood.
yeah.
It's like, you know, every decade just builds on top of each other, and so
Yeah.
for that to have been so much of your life and there to be so much trauma associated,
Yeah.
you know, and but I think I know like I keep kind of going back to this, but I feel like because you went through that and still had the ability to go back to like the ground zero of
Oh,
abuse
thank you.
and be like
Yeah.
and get up in front of people to be like, and when everyone's talking nice about the
Yeah.
school,
Yeah.
and you to be
Yeah.
the person to be like, my experience actually wasn't great at all, and these are the ways in which I was slighted, and
Yeah,
I'm mad
yeah.
about it, and it affected my life in this way. And
Yes.
I think that's awesome that that is what connected to the students.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, I mean, I didn't get up and say I was abused. Like that, I just felt was not the place. But I did get up and say like I was treated poorly because I was an
Right.
athlete, and like I experienced sexism here.
Right, right.
I didn't say it, in that
Matter
way,
of
but
fact,
yes. And then the meeting about the coach was done privately with like the administrators of the school. But yeah, I mean, honestly, since that happened, I am like a changed woman. I'm like, I can do fucking anything. Like,
Yeah.
I truly feel like I've been feeling so good about myself since that happened. Like, I've really only been dating like nice, cool guys, and then if they're not, I cut them. Like the second I, get an inkling that they're not, I cut them out, and just like feeling good about myself. I don't know. It like completely changed the course of my life to do that.
Yeah,
So-
maybe this is me giving too much credit to a person's ability to do that, but like being able to cut a shitty guy out
Oh my god,
they're
it's-
being
it's
shitty
hard,
is
but you have to do it. Yeah.
so fucking hard.
Yeah, and then you feel great. Then you're like, yeah. But it's also like such an easy piece of advice to give someone else. Like if your friend's telling you about a shitty guy, it's so easy to be like,
Ew.
yeah, why the fuck do you keep talking to him? But like,
Yeah.
there was a guy that I used to date, and then we were like had this friendship and this like complicated like on and off like are we gonna get back together? Are we friends? Like what are we?
Yeah.
We dated and like it went really well, and there's these problems and I remember even Laura, I'd be like, oh, Laura, like I hung out with this guy again. She'd be like, why? What are you doing? And like Laura liked it. Like she's met him, she liked him, but she's like, I don't tell me that.
Yeah, I can't listen
And
to
I'm like,
this.
look, I know that you're right. Like
Yeah.
I agree. And then eventually I ended up like cutting it out. But I think a lot of it is the support network of like my family, my friends who like when they're all like cut someone out, it helps. But
Good.
now I'm like, oh, like a guy ghosts me. I'm like, bye.
Yeah. Like not even.
Yeah, I'm like
thinking
you don't
about
even have the
this.
amount of respect to break up with me, or he's like 2 years ago, I think maybe last year, I don't know. Like, this guy hooked up with a couple times, and then he ghosted me completely, and then 6 months later was like, "What are you doing?" And I was like, "Block." Like,
Yeah, this might work
I'm
on other
not
people.
even going to like. No, you don't respect me. Like,
Right.
I am owed basic human respect. Like,
Yeah.
yeah. Ugh.
Yeah, and you know what? I think that it sucks to look at like anything at all abusive and be like, oh, well, if I hadn't gone through that terrible thing, I wouldn't maybe be this person I am now. It's hard to look at
Yes,
life like
yeah.
that, but I mean, you are pretty great.
Oh, thank you. So are you.
Oh, thank you. Compliment off.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
Man.
thank you. Yeah, I really opened up on the spot.
I knew it was gonna happen. I have that effect on people.
They're like, I show them my apartment. They can't help.
All
but
of
share
my
all their
friends that
feelings.
don't do comedy are like, Cal, I really think that like you should have gone to school for therapy. And I'm
Yeah,
like,
I think you're
one better. I have a podcast.
same, honestly.
Yeah. Damn.
Have you ever thought about doing that?
It feels like I'm too old to do that. I'd
Oh.
have to. I'm not a good student, and so
That's so like separating school from skill. Like school and skills are not the same.
they're not the
things.
same. I am good at like faking it till I make it, and like you can't fake a research paper on psychology.
No,
You know, like you have to do it, and like
you're like, what's a bibliography? But also, like, who cares? You know,
I know,
can-
and I know that like I would get in trouble for using ChatGPT, and it sucks because my mom is such a good student.
yeah.
Like my mom has a doctorate.
oh,
Like
wow.
she and like went back later.
And she's a
in
mom.
life.
Like she's older. Like that's
Yeah,
awesome.
she went
I
back
love that.
later in life to get it,
Wow,
and
good
like
for her.
I remember I was like in middle school when she went back to get her bachelor's degree, and I would just like see her like studying and writing papers and stuff, all in like the medical field.
Oh my
'cause she's a
god.
nurse.
Wow.
And I
Good
would
for
just
her.
be like, how does she do? Like I'm
Yeah.
such a bad student. You
yeah.
know, I just got my dad's side of.
Is your
things.
dad? What does he do? Or
My dad never.
Nothing
My dad didn't go to
academic?
college.
Oh,
No.
okay.
You know, and but like you know, got
Doesn't-
by.
it doesn't matter. That's the thing. Like it doesn't. My grandpa. So my mom's side, I guess, is not as into education. My dad's side is like very into education. They like grew up poor in the Bronx, but his mom was like a single mom
Yeah.
back in the day, and we found her diaries, and they were like, yeah, like everyone keeps telling me I need a man, but like fuck you. Like she would like breastfeed.
This was your grandma.
Yeah, and she would like breastfeed her kids on the 6 train. Like
Yes.
back in the day when that's
That's like
insane.
yeah, that was like a sin.
Yeah, and then she ended up going back to school to be a nurse when her husband died, and like ended up killing it. And but anyway, my dad's side is like very, or actually I don't know because we don't talk to my dad's sisters, but my dad
Yeah.
is very academic and like, you know, when he made money, the first thing he did was like spend it on children's education. Like
Yeah.
everything was like child's education and like my own education. Just education is like
Mm-hmm.
number one, which is very Jewish. But my mom's side, like my grandpa on her side, like didn't go to college. He was a caterer. Like,
yeah.
of her there's 4 of them. Like one of them has good education, and I still don't really know why. Like he might have just been motivated to do it, but they're like not as into. But you know, my grandpa was like my mom's dad was successful as a caterer. Like you don't
Right.
need to study how to cook. Like,
Right.
Culinary school I
Life
think is
skill.
great, but it's not like, are you good at math? You'll be a good chef. Like
Right. No,
totally.
absolutely.
Yeah, it's totally just like, do you get it?
Yeah. So yeah, I maybe one day. I mean, I don't think you're ever too old to do anything. So when I say like,
agree.
oh, I'm too old, like,
Or you just don't want to.
yeah,
Yeah.
it's just like I have.
I agree with that. There's so many things you can pick up, and I find myself giving that excuse for things where I'm like, oh, yes, you're too old, or your body's not the same, or this and that. And it's like, no, you just don't want to. If you wanted
Yeah.
to, you would.
Yeah, I think that like I give good advice, and oftentimes I'll give advice, and the person's response will be, you know, my therapist said something similar, and I'm just
Yeah,
like,
that was this entire podcast session.
I love it. I love it. Maybe I should like run a grift and become a life coach.
Did you see that SNL sketch they did? I think it was this week, where instead of male therapy, it's like they go on a podcast, or it's not therapy, it's the doctor.
Okay, I heard about this sketch, and so I have to watch it, but apparently the sketch was like they trick men to going to therapy by making the therapy session sound like a podcast, something
Yes,
like that.
But I think it was like doctor's visits, but the same could be applied
yeah,
to
yeah,
therapy.
yeah, totally. Yeah, doctor's visits, totally. Yeah, everyone go to therapy. It's the best.
Truly, do you go to therapy?
Of course I do.
Oh, great.
Yeah, I actually
Finding a good
just-
therapist, though, hard.
very hard, and I've learned that if I'm gonna get a good therapist, which I do have a good therapist now, but it's not going to happen through my insurance company.
I know.
That's,
So
that's the sad reality.
I
of it.
talked my insurance into covering therapy, which I
How?
should give a tutorial on.
Yes, please
It-
do.
It took a very long time, but I had Aetna, and basically I could file for a
Out
what is it
of
called?
network.
In-network authorization. So if you can
Uh-huh.
make a case to them that you cannot receive this treatment from any other doctor in network, they'll cover it for you.
Okay, I actually at this new job got switched to United Healthcare, so maybe I should strike while the iron's
United-
hot
Yeah.
and be like, "I'm crazy. cover my therapy."
But if you say like this is the only person who's been able to help me, I think it's called in-network authorization. I'll look up what it's
Mhm.
called. But yeah, if you can like give them a compelling case,
Yeah.
they'll cover it
Ooh, yeah, I gotta look
at
this
the
one.
in-network rate. So like at my last company, my last insurance, it was like a $40 copay. This
Right.
job, I'm still on Aetna, it's like a $20 copay. So I need to,
Ooh,
so just
I
be
like
whatever
that.
your copay. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, it's great. It's so expensive. Finding a good therapist is so hard.
yeah, it's hard.
Also, with what you said about the academics, it's like I can look at someone's resume. I have no idea if they're gonna help me.
No idea.
I-
and
I-
and for me, it's like I need to have a level of identity. Like, is your
Yes.
therapist your therapist is a lady?
Yes, she's
Yeah.
an Argentinian woman.
So
a
for
mom.
me, I'll never understand. I mean, shout out if you're listening to this and you're a woman with the male therapist.
women who go to male therapists.
That doesn't work for me. Like my
Yeah.
therapist is from New Jersey.
Yeah.
You know, they're non-binary, but like
Yeah.
they
They're not a man.
are yeah, exactly. And they are like I think our birthday is like a day and like 2 years apart.
Yeah.
Like we're very close in age, and it's just I could never see somebody else.
That's like my friend who lives in Mexico City. She's from Venezuela, and she told me the only good therapist she's ever had in her life is like a girl who was around her age, living in Miami, who is from Venezuela. And she's like, the
Nailed
girl
it.
wasn't like particularly intelligent, or didn't
Right.
have like the credentials, but she was like the best. Like she
Yeah.
knew what to say. 'Cause she was the best therapist she had.
Yeah.
My parents see a man. Well, my mom sees a man.
I think
don't.
it's a little bit different for older ladies, to be
Mhm.
honest. Like, I think that. Let me amend what I said, because I think that for like our age and like where we are in life, having like a relatable character helps.
Yes.
But I think for women our moms' ages, like maybe a man is a little bit, because they're a little bit old school.
yeah.
They can
Yeah.
kind
My
of,
mom loves the old school.
Yeah. Like my dad was in an accident at work and
Oh.
had to go to therapy over it, and he was seeing, like, he just was like appointed
Yeah.
like a young guy that's like fresh out of
And he
school.
was probably like, I don't respect you.
And my dad was like, this fucking guy.
Yeah, literally.
Meanwhile, my dad is like a truck driver from New Jersey in therapy.
That's a sketch
Like,
by itself. Yeah.
and he's like, this fucking guy does, like, I can't talk to him. And I was like, Dad, I'm not going to tell you how to live your life or what to do.
Yeah.
My only thing is see a woman.
Yeah.
Like I promise you. And he started seeing
I
a woman, and it
love-
was so much better.
I love that for him.
Yeah, it was
That's
like Tony
amazing.
Soprano going to the fucking therapist.
Well, yeah, my parents are very pro therapy,
Yeah.
and when I was growing up, they like kind of lied to me about it, and then when I went through the basketball stuff, they're like, "It's time, it's time we tell you the truth."
It's
That walk we've been going on
time.
every week, we've actually been going to therapy, and you actually have a third parent. It's our therapist.
Oh my
Surprise.
gosh.
But then they like made me see their or they like wanted me to see their therapist, and then I was like, I feel like
Yeah.
you know me from
We need a
all these
little.
years.
There's a separation of church and state that needs to happen.
Yeah, and it
here.
was funny because then when I was in college, like I went to college and I started having the mental health problems. They were like, this is the only therapist with Jews in the Upper East Side. They're like,
Yeah,
we
yeah.
can't come up with anybody else except our old guy. And I remember he said to me, like, he was like asking about my boyfriend at the time, and he was like, does he give you orgasms? And I was like, I'm done. And I was like,
I don't trust
normally
him.
it's fine, but like you're like an 80-year-old man
yeah,
that
yeah.
has known my parents for so many years
Yep.
and like essentially seen me grow up from like their eyes. Like, no, like
No.
I,
Male therapist, male gynecologist. Out of my fucking face with that.
male therapist, but male gynecologist is wild.
Not doing it. Not doing it.
Also, like, who's going to that? That's what I don't get.
People
like, even if they're
do.
fine, who's going to?
Which is fine. I'm not
Yeah.
judging, but like I could
A little
never.
bit. A little
I
bit.
could never.
I couldn't either. Yeah.
I get mad if I schedule a gynecologist, like a visit, and my person isn't like
a staunch feminist,
Yeah,
like
yeah,
bordering
yeah.
lesbian. Like that's what
Right.
I want. Like
Right.
you're such a feminist. Like I don't know your sexuality.
man will
like, That's what I
never-
want.
a man will never implant an IUD in me.
No,
ever.
or no.
No, it has nothing to do about them looking at my body. It has
Yeah.
everything to do with their essence and aura.
It's the smell. It's like this is
Yeah.
a girls. This is the
Yeah,
girls.
yeah,
room. You know the
yeah,
Amanda
yeah.
Show sketch
Yes,
of the girls.
room.
That's like the gyno exam. Like it's the girls' room. Get the fuck out.
Yeah, get out.
My gyno will have like visiting students sometimes, and I don't mind.
I
but
don't mind that.
It's like a young boy. I'm like, you know what? Get in there,
Yeah,
Daniel.
Yeah, yeah,
Like,
yeah. This is what a woman looks like.
yes, take it in. I'm like, I'm like spread. I'm like relaxed. I'm like, see.
So true. I'm so on the same page with you on that.
But yes, but when it's a full time doctor, I'm like, no,
no, I can't. Oh, this was so fun.
This was so fun.
Thank you so much for coming on.
Yeah. Oh my god,
So
I'm so
great.
glad I did.
So I know that you're kind of like, taking a little break from comedy, but I trust that you'll be
Yeah, I'm like trying to go back now. I like started sending out some feelers.
good.
But I'm like, where do I even like? It's going back to the happiness thing. It's like, where do I like going up?
Yeah. Yeah, totally.
And it's like random shows. And of course, like everyone likes a well attended show on a Saturday night where like everything you say is funny. Like obviously that's ideal. But even just like sometimes small shows are really fun. So I need to figure out like how much I want to do, which shows.
Yeah, and you never know which way you'll decide to lean into. Like maybe you'll lean more into online or whatever.
Yeah, I've been like doing social media more in these off months, and I've like gotten a lot of followers, and I'm like, this is so stupid. It's like when I'm not doing comedy, that's when
When the
people
followers
want to
come in.
follow me.
Right. Well,
Whereas
because
like,
you have the time to dedicate to where success is.
yeah, it's oh my god, don't even get me started on.
I know we live in hell. Let the people know where to find you.
Yes. Oh my god, follow me on Instagram.
Literally.
Follow me on Instagram at rlands. That was the Instagram name I made when I got Instagram, and I just really committed to it. So, and then yeah, honestly, just there. Like TikTok's gonna be out soon.
Doesn't matter.
Yeah, it's gonna be
Doesn't
banned.
matter. I feel like
so-
if you can find someone on one platform,
Yeah,
you'll
it's all
be
the
able
same.
to find them
Agreed.
wherever. It's like anytime my friends ask me, "Oh, where can I subscribe to your podcast?" It's like only everywhere I ever exist online. It's not that hard
You're
to
like, has
find.
anyone ever had a podcast and not talked about it? Because
Literally.
I don't think so.
Gosh.
Yeah.
Guys, Rachel's information will be in the description of the show. And until next week, we'll talk to you.
Yeah, so
Bye.
fun.